How's it going, YouTube? Coming in today with another video, and today, guys, what the bring to you is going to be the next episode of the podcast. Welcome back. This is going into our new season. It's going to be a lot of fun. New studio, something that we've really been working toward, and I'm very happy to be here. Today, I'm with a very special guest. I'm being joined by Brandon from Gem. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
I think you did pretty good, man. My name is Brandon. I own and operate and design stuff for Gem Accessories. I've been doing this for, oh well, just a little over 8 years now. So yeah, it's been a pretty cool ride.
Definitely go ahead and check out my sponsors down below, especially Gem. I do appreciate each and every one of you for supporting me and also going ahead and supporting Brandon as well. Absolutely fantastic person to meet and have around in my life. So it's been great.
This was sweet.
I appreciate you. So we are just going to hop right into it. Too, I do want to do a big thing on Gem just because I've always viewed Gem as the Versace of Yu-Gi-Oh. And whenever you have something from Gem, whether it be one of the backpacks or any of the products, you're always like, "That is beautiful." How do you feel about that kind of a label over Gem?
I've heard it a couple times. Not specifically Versace, but other big brands. It's pretty cool to be compared to something like that. That really wasn't the idea when I first started this brand. Um, it was more of I just kind of wanted something for myself. There was a lot missing per se around the time that I started. Uh, I mean, the only brands that were out that were like making things that were like of somewhat quality was Spellground. For those of you viewers that are familiar with them, they've been around since Jesus, since I was born, practically 1992, I believe. And they did stuff with Magic, and they were sort of the quote unquote staple of the industry at the time, and talking about just premium accessories. And when I say premium accessories, I say that like lightly. It's more handcrafted accessories is what it was. And the Yu-Gi-Oh community really took on to them. So I obviously I played Yu-Gi-Oh at the time. Um, as well as I could. And they were just the staple. That was who you bought. And I just happened to be bored of it, frankly. I mean, that's all everybody had. And every time I went to an event, that's just kind of what was there. And, if you didn't have one, you weren't like the cool person. So I just decided to make my own stuff. Luckily, I live out here in the beautiful state of sunny California and down south, actually, Southern California. So I have a lot of access to manufacturers, fabric stores, things like that, especially in downtown LA. And so I went one day and, found a fabric that I liked and I just printed my own stuff. I spent I think $500 on everything, and I made my first run of mats, and it just kind of took off from there. And I just kept making accessories, and um, to be compared to one of the some of the biggest brands in the world in terms of quality and luxury, it's a real um, it's humbling for sure. It's it's not what I expected. It's not anything that I really focused like this is what I wanted Gem to be. I just wanted Gem to be something different, and we have consistently been different, and it's shown because if you look at our market now and you look at the things that are out now, a lot of the stuff that even bigger brands like Ultimate Guard or Dragonshield, wherever it is that you look at, they they are hopping on trends that we have already sort of pioneered and done and been there and done that already. And it's been pretty cool. It's cool to see it. It's cool to see the transition from just your basic old deck boxes that you could get at your local Walmart to now people are making some really really nice things, really bespoke products. And I'm not saying that I'm responsible for it, but I think that we played a nice hand in that, in making something that people aren't used to. But now it's become what the norm is. Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for it, man. It's really cool to see that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fantastic, and a lot of what I have around me, my bag, my deck box here. I'll get into how I met Brandon, but I got this deck box. This is the Millennium Puzzle Dark Magician deck box, and I got it from the night that I met Brandon, and I use it in every single tournament that I go to. It is my daily gamer, as you would call it. It is my favorite one that I use all the time, and I do appreciate it. And it's a pretty, I would say, consistent belief in the community as far as just gem in general. It's just a great brand, quality product, and you're going to get something that you'll really have forever. We did end up meeting in Chicago. We were in a hotel with Jobber, and it was him, David, and yourself at the table. And I went to go
Mhm.
introduce myself to Jobber because I haven't talked to Jobber yet. And you had turned around, and then we started conversing, and I ended up joining you guys for a night at Fogo,
Yeah, that's right.
which
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. And I actually have the picture
Yeah.
up here too of all of us around the table, and it was
Oh
a
God,
wonderful night.
that was pre-mustache Brandon.
Yeah, it was
I've
really.
been trying, man. It's been tough. I can't grow any facial hair, so me having this was like so excited. But I shaved it off one time, and everybody that I knew was like, you gotta grow that thing back. This, you don't look the same. You don't look like the same person."
I'm definitely interested to see what I look like with like a full like beard going, like not like full on beard, but like without scruff,
Can
Um,
you? Can you grow facial hair?
I can grow facial hair. It just comes in like slightly patchy. It's starting to grow in a little
Yeah.
bit better now. So I shave it off so much though because I can't stand hair on my face. But
Oh, God. Yeah.
hopefully
It's tough.
soon, you know.
Lucky you, man, because I actually have alopecia. Alopecia barbea is what they call it. But I can't grow, like, I have huge holes
Oh
in
wow.
my facial hair. I just it's just smooth. Like there's nothing there. It's really weird. I was, you know, it's a different story.
But you got the mustache.
Yeah. I got my mustache though. Hey man, don't jinx me because it can go up and I can lose this and I'll be really pissed off.
We enjoy the things that we have for now, right?
Nothing lasts forever. So meeting that day, I'll remember. I can't forget it. Actually, it's a pretty core memory. I remember you kind of being around. You're like, "Oh man, I'm an upcoming YouTuber. Blah blah blah. I'm doing my best." And I was like, "Oh, well, just come hang out with us. Why not?" There's going to be everybody there. All the YouTubers are going to be there. We had Jobber was there.
Slim,
Uh,
Johnny.
Slim, yeah, Slim, yeah. All my friends, everybody that I knew in the industry, I was like, "Hey guys, I'm just gonna host a big dinner. If you guys want to come through." And like everybody rolled through. And yeah, I had those deck boxes. Those were sampled actually, and I was like, "I'm just gonna hook everybody up. Why not? Let's give everybody a deck box. It's really nice." Yeah, well, that was a pretty cool event. There was a lot of people there. Um, and I'm glad, man. I'm glad that we got an opportunity to really hit it off. We've been friends since then. It's been so much fun, and I love seeing you at events. Every time I see you, I'm like, "Gary's here. Good to see you, buddy.
I'm always
You're one of my favorite people."
I appreciate that, and I'm always like really excited to be at events. And like, I think it's so funny because I don't know if you know like the whole meme thing with Shane bringing something to show and tell. And I feel like that's me every event with Tier Limit, where it's just like you brought this to show and tell 100 times. Stop it.
Hey, man. What do they say? In is it something about insanity? Is thinking that something's gonna work? You
Yeah.
keep doing the same thing over again, thinking that it's gonna give you a different outcome. I mean, I'm not a clinical psychologist, my friend, but I think it may be time. I think it may be time to let it go.
So I talked
Shit.
to people about this format. So it's gonna be Dweller Turbo this format and Shifter in the side decks. So I was like, maybe it is time, but I don't know if it's much better because right now I'm just playing Tenpai. So like, we'll
I'll be
see.
honest, the Yu-Gi-Oh meta is so far out of reach for me. That's a topic in itself. It's tough getting into this game, man. Well, into Yu-Gi-Oh specifically, not just into this game. Like people are like, "What game are you talking about?" But yeah, it's very very complicated. It's the skill gap is unbelievable, and it's kind of hard to even keep up with things because unlike Pokemon, for example, it's there's very few times that new cards come out where you're like, oh, okay, these don't interact correctly, so we kind of have to know when these two specific cards don't work. But like trying to explain to a new person what timing is, it's just it's what do you think? I mean, from somebody that's really played this game a lot, have you ever been able to get somebody new into this game and actually teach them to be competitive?
So I've definitely been able to help people and like learn and guide them. Usually, unfortunately, when they're starting off, you find the most toxic, simple deck that you can, like Runic Stun or Fluandaries, and you're like, you cannot mess this up. Like, here you go. Normal summon one, two bird, summon the big bird, right? Like, it's really difficult, but usually that's the best way to do it, at least right now, is just being like, listen, just learn your deck and then learn everyone else's deck. And I tell people, like, when they start off, don't try to learn the whole game all at once. Just learn the current format and go from there. Because if you can understand what's happening at the point in time, you can backlog everything. That's fine. Like if you see something now, like for example, we had the new Lightsworn support come out not too long ago, and I was playing against other people, and I was like playing it because I love the gambling mill decks, right? And I was on DB, and one of my opponents on DB didn't know like what Felice did, or they didn't know like what certain cards did. And I'm like, oh, I know these cards because I played them way back when. They're like, oh, I just
Mhm.
started. I'm like, that makes sense, but like you can kind of backlog a little bit because you learn like the newer cards and like, oh, this is like a lot easier. Or you start, we compare things like if something's special, something from deck, we're like, oh, it's an E-Telly. And people are like, what's an E-Telly? But let's say there's like a new card that's special from deck. They're like, oh, it's like that card. So like everyone gets their own points of references. Um, I would say the other thing that's really confusing for people is like if I say spin or bounce, people understand that those are two very different words.
Right,
If you bounce something, it's going to hand. If you spin something, it's going to deck. And it's not like it's an official term, but it's
right.
just
It's not.
slang that everyone knows. So like that's another thing where I feel
Yeah,
like it's really hard to get into the game. But I mean, it's doable. It's just very difficult.
yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I'm asking for a friend. I kind of want to get back into it, frankly.
Yeah,
Um, it's and like I said, it it's not necessarily. And for those of you guys that are listening right now, I'm sure you guys obviously aren't Yu-Gi-Oh players, and you may have a friend or two. But you know, what are your guys' thoughts? And how do you get somebody new or somebody that's I feel like you have to have some sort of like TCG background in order to get into this game because there's just too many things that are like a bit obscure. And then like I said, it's not like Pokemon. With Pokemon, it's like it's very, very simple. I mean, it was literally made for children. And it's kind of ironic how that is, right? Like Yu-Gi-Oh is a children's card game, but you have to be an English major, frankly, in order to really actually play the game correctly. And it's so far out of reach for new players. And and it sucks because I think that they really tried. Konami recognized that this was too complicated, right? And they came out with speed duels. I think that was like the
yeah,
idea, right? And speed duels recently
died.
collapsed. Yeah, and within the last year or so, right?
Yeah, and it's like it wasn't even that bad of an idea. It was like pretty fun, but it's just not something that you can also afford either. Because like you have your average player who can only afford like their deck and their staples, and then you're throwing out
Mhm.
like these different format boxes, and you have to go to different tournaments to play them. And a lot of times, what ruined it was people would put their speed duel tournaments alongside locals. Everyone's just gonna play in
Mm,
locals. They're not gonna play in speed
right,
duel.
yeah. Why play speed duels? Yeah.
By the way, I'm also an English major. Um,
I mean,
it
it
works
just
out.
goes to show. It just goes to show, my friend. I barely graduated high school, so cheers to you.
I appreciate it. So we did just get two new decks as well in the format. So we have like really obscure bad cards that mirror this card's effect. But we usually only see what I'm about to say in Magic the Gathering. So do you understand that there's chain links in Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, that's not a new concept, but complicated one, definitely.
Right. Do you understand that usually there's no way to like interrupt a chain link? Like once a chain link is resolving, it is
Right.
resolving.
Yeah, you can't
Um,
interrupt it. It has to complete, and then you can do something, right?
we have very obscure cards in the game that kind of allow you to do that, but we have one of the most meta relevant new decks coming out in Yugioh. Their field spell will let you negate a monster effect in the middle of a chain link. Yeah. So
Complicated. It just got even more complicated.
it has a lot of ridiculous rulings. It also doesn't say it negates activation, yet you can negate in the damage step
Okay.
because it just negates at
It's-
the resolution of the monster effect.
Wow.
Yeah. So we have a lot of very complicated things that are going on. But like even if you're trying to get in like by yourself, like trying to understand like what's going on, there are several decks in the meta right now that are like fairly simple. Like Tenpai is just like brain off. You're just doing the thing that you're doing. We're gonna be getting a ban list probably in like 2 weeks, and then it'll be in effect for January. I'd imagine that's usually how it goes, and it's like a slaughter list. Like a lot of things get hit. Um, I would say like Melodious is a really good pickup. It's pretty simple to play. It's very straightforward. Watch a couple videos on it, you'll have that down. But like even if you learn like older Yu-Gi-Oh and like you played at some point, it's I would say it's almost easy at that point to just kind of get back in because it's not so much like you learning how to play the game. You're just learning like new summoning mechanics. So
Right.
like we all thought that like synchro summoning was gonna ruin the game and make everyone quit, and we're all still here. We thought that link summoning was gonna be the worst thing possible, and we're all still here. The only thing that was like that bad was something that Konami was like are bad, and then they kept Pendulum behind Master Rule 3, I think.
Yeah.
So like they actively just like rarely make support for Pendulum because Konami hates Pendulum, and I understand because that was like not healthy at all.
When that came out, Clearfort was my first like real competitive deck, like
Yeah,
really expensive competitive deck. Yeah, I remember when Pendulum Summoning came out. That was a concept. That was a definitely a interesting time in this game, that's for sure.
I agree. I really like Pendulum cards. I do in general. I think they're great, but they just can't go second that well, which is the problem. And the game's not slow enough anymore to rely on like a medium first turn board or like cracking a go second board without like a crazy board breaker.
For those of you that are watching or listening and you're getting into this game, go play Pokemon.
That's fair. I mean, like, so I would always say that too. Like, you know, if you are actually able to like sit down and like grind some DV and like go to some tournaments and like really learn, I commend you because it's really easy for someone like me who's been playing for like 13, 14 years to just kind of like layer on the knowledge with everything that comes in. But for someone who's just like taking it all in at once and just like, oh my god, like there's so much. It's like there's over 10,000 cards. You know, you can play Duel Links that can get you in the game a lot easier too because they have link summoning now, so you can learn how to link summon really easy. We have Master Duel, which is another thing that just got broke loose with that ban list, whatever that was. That was crazy. And then we also just have the TCG, which is fun if you like winning Nintendo Switches. Um,
Oh, don't get me started.
but you know, it's a good time. The one thing is that like I believe the game should have better pricing, right? I feel like that's a general belief amongst most players. But like, there's
Right.
another half of the community who are like, we never played for the prizing, we played for the glory, and like. Yu-Gi-Oh is that weird conundrum where like people are okay playing for Winamats when they spend like $2,000 to get to the event, and it's so bad. But there's like no other game scratches the itch that Yu-Gi-Oh does, right? Like that's
You're
my
right.
problem.
You're right. And it's so I've been obviously in this industry for a little bit. And it wasn't until recently that I started going to like really big events from other games. And I recently took somebody with me that has never been to anything like that. And he's a Yu-Gi-Oh player. One of my best friends, Rob Loa. So I took him to a Magic the Gathering event, Magic Con in Las Vegas,
Hmm.
and that entire place, it was literally magic in there was thousands of people there, right? And two floors of the convention center were filled. And he walks around and he's like, my game just does not compare. And it sucks because I love my game so much. I love Yu-Gi-Oh so much, but you can tell that the people that are in this industry or this particular part of the industry, Magic more specifically, even Pokemon events, the people that run the events have not only practically an unlimited budget at this point, but they have a passion, a deep passion for whatever it is that they're doing because you can tell the quality difference in even basic things in terms of like just having certain vendors there, right? We're talking like huge names are at these magic events. Ultra, it almost looks like a Gen Con if you've ever been to one.
Yeah.
Like there's a full-on Ultra Pro booth. There's a full-on um, you know, three-row aisled vendor. There's a single vendor of cards, right? Um, there's play areas. I think that's another big thing. It's like we go to a Yu-Gi-Oh event, right?
Right.
And you almost look around and you're like, okay, where can I play? Where can me and my friends just kind of can hang out and play? And you guys sit there for like 5 minutes, and then a judge comes up and it's like, hey, we need these tables. Like we're running a side event. And you're like, okay, well, let me scoot over to the next table then, right?
Right.
Like even basic things like that, where why like I just don't understand it. And I'm extremely passionate about this industry. I'm extremely passionate about the players and the experience and everything. And with Yu-Gi-Oh events, I just don't get why that same passion is not put into their the quality of stuff that they make. And I think that's kind of like the inspiration of how Gem came about, right? It's just do something that people are proud to have, proud to say that they're a part of, proud to say that this is yours. Have pride in your work. And I feel like that's missing. I genuinely do, and it sucks because there was a small time actually. A lot of people don't know this. Uh, they had reached out to me and asked me to help them make their UDS mats. I don't know if you were definitely around for UDS series, right?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I helped make their UDS mats, and I was like, okay, they're going in the right direction. They're reaching out to people that are really doing things in the industry now, um, and they recognize that we know what we're doing. There's people out there that know what they're doing, right?
Right.
And not only do they know what they're doing, they know what they're doing for you guys specifically. And um, I helped make their line of UDS mats, and then they killed UDS. And I was just like, man. And I've reached out. I reached out to a lot of big names in the industry, games and stuff, and um, I don't know if I'm an ostracized black sheep in the industry, or if maybe I'm too expensive for them to bring onto the team. Um, but they need somebody. They need somebody to really go in there with a passion for design or a passion for what players need or want. And I promise you'll see a complete revival of a game, especially where it's at now. I feel like it's missing that. It's really it's not dying, right? Everybody says the game is dying. I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh is dying at all. I just think that those that are coming into it don't see the value of really putting themselves into the game deep enough to be competitive. Because I mean, like I said, if you get somebody from Magic and they show up to a Yu-Gi-Oh event, they look around and they're like, the hell is this? That's what's missing. That's
So
really what's missing.
I completely agree, and I have two different viewpoints on this. One as a player and one as a content creator. As a player, going into an event, bright eye, bushy tail, just like, oh my god, we're at a Yu-Gi-Oh event. Let's have fun, like let's go and do what we want to do. Um, the lack of areas for creators. Have you seen the Pokemon live stream and the area the creators have? It's insane. And I was like,
I've been there.
imagine, right? Like, imagine in Yu-Gi-Oh! We had something like that with like Millennium Puzzle plushes and like nice chairs and like backdrops and like all that kind of cool stuff would be dope. It would be so much fun. But like we get a roped off area and a folding table. Like that's insane. And like
And you guys are the bloodline. You guys are the bloodline of these games. I don't think that they understand that. You guys are the reason why these games are existing still, because you are the creators. You're the ones sharing this with people that were potentially coming in. Do you really think some kid at Walmart's walking by and he's gonna look at a Yu-Gi-Oh pack, a Yu-Gi-Oh blister, and he's gonna look at a Pokemon blister, and he's gonna go, yeah, I'm
Pokemon.
gonna take the Pokemon blister. I say this time and time again. You just need somebody in there that has a passion, that has a, a, a real look into the outside view, right? The people that have worked, I mean, I know them personally and I respect them highly, but the people that have worked there that are of the shot callers, we'll say, right? They have literally been there since the game has started. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that there is no new perspective. There's no new blood that's come in there, that they're willing to let go of their own reins and give it to somebody else that actually has ideas. I feel like a lot of the stuff that they're doing is it's too dated. It's too far back. Like, why are they still doing switches?
It doesn't
It
make
just doesn't make
sense.
any sense. They don't even have a deal with Nintendo to where like they're even getting discounts on these Switches, right? If I'm 100% honest with you, I'm pretty sure they go to Costco and they buy them in bulk. Yeah, I don't think that they're like Konami North America is reaching out to Nintendo North America and they're going, "Hey, we're using Switches for our pricing support. Can you cut us a deal? We want to sponsor. We want to get sponsors. Blah blah blah." It's nothing like that. It's literally they're going to the store, their local Walmart or their or their Amazon, and they're like, "Oh, hey, they're on sale. Guess what, guys? We just bought 50 of them for the rest of the season." Like
Right.
that's literally what it is. Shit. If honestly, if I was them, I would reach out to Nintendo and be like, "Hey, we are running your guys' events. We want limited edition Switches."
Right.
Like
That'd be
I
cool.
just right. That would make it completely worth it at that point because you're getting something of value. You're not getting something where it's like, okay, I just spent $1,000 for a flight. I spent $300 on a hotel room. My deck is worth $1,000. And I'm competing for this Nintendo Switch that I could have went to the store and bought for $200 because it's on sale right now.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. But like I said, they're not willing to think outside the box. And I get it. They have their shareholders, they have their people that they need to please. Um, and everybody's looking out for their own butts, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do anything outside of the ordinary and potentially be looked at as the failure, right? And then,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at your slides. That's probably the next slide that we should probably talk
Yeah,
about.
we'll get in there. I was gonna say like too like don't even get me started on the ban list and whatever they're doing with that. It's like crazy because like sometimes I feel like they really do listen to the community because like when the community calls certain cards, they're like, all right, this card's probably gonna go, this card, this card, this card, and they all get dealt with. I'm like, okay, so they like actively watch ban list predictions, like they want to know what the problem is, right? At least in the community's eyes, and then like They do what they did on Master Duel, and they're like, here's 3 diagram, 3 masterpiece, here is everything you don't want, like, back in the game. And it's just like, okay. It's the same thing with Protoss. Like, Protoss is the card that says, special summon this card, can't be killed by card effects, call an attribute, your opponent cannot summon that attribute for the next 2 turns. Like, you can't either, but, like, this turn and next turn, they just can't do it. And it's like, nobody wanted this card back in the game. Why is this here? No one's listening to us. So, it is very frustrating as a player. And I'm so glad to hear that the inspiration for Gem is just really trying to have passion in what you do. I have a lot of passion into Yu-Gi-Oh. I'm doing the card drive for the 2nd year in a row. Being able to get cards in the hands of players who can't afford it, which I think is really important as far as a starting point for a lot of different players. Right now, I'm sitting on like 35 decks still, to be able to hand out and send across America. So there is a lot of pride and a lot of want, at least from the content creator side of me too, for other players to get in the game and keep things rolling. So that's one thing where I really do wish that even Konami would reach out to content creators more, because in EU they reach out to many many content creators, but in America there's like 2, and like they're so selective in America, it's crazy. But
And I don't understand why.
it doesn't make
Like,
sense.
so look, and I'm not comparing necessarily the age, right? Because obviously this game is made for children.
Sure.
We're going to talk about magic stuff, right?
Hmm.
Um, and it's a bit of the it's extreme on this spectrum, but it's just thoughts, and it's the truth, right? Um, they're not afraid to use content creators that have the reach. They don't care whether these content creators are OnlyFans models or they're store owners or whatever it is. They only care that these people have an extreme passion for the game and they show that passion, right?
Sure.
Um, and we're going to talk about content creators. So, not too long ago, I did a line called Vixen,
Hmm. I remember that.
and I used OnlyFans models, but OnlyFans models that were really deep in the the Gathering community. We're going to talk about again space, right? So I went to MagicCon, Las Vegas, and they were actively promoting these content creators. They had booths and times to when you can come and see these people and they can sign product and whatever it is that you take pictures, meet and greets and stuff like that. Active models. We're talking, like a we're practically adult film models, right? When you're doing OnlyFans for adults, that's what the stuff that they're making. But they don't necessarily care about that. They care about the drive for the game that they're promoting, right? Now, I'm not saying that Konami needs to go hire OnlyFans models. I'm not at all. On the contrary, I still think that the game needs to be toned down for those younger audiences, right?
Sure.
But content creators like yourself, um, or even people in general, other content creators that I've talked to, they're like, "Yeah, Konami won't work with me because I said the F word one time in a video."
Yep.
It's like what? What are you talking about? Like, oh, my video intro has this song in it, so I know they don't like me for anymore. Like, I don't understand it. And again,
Yep.
the people that are making those decisions, they're so far out of date, or they just don't want to stir the pot in their small world that they have to try and keep together, right? And maybe that's it. I don't work there. I don't know what the
Right.
what the environment is like. It could be extremely toxic. It could be something where it's like, man, we're just walking on eggshells every day. Maybe that's the reason why it shows. Maybe that's what we're looking at right now. It's I don't know, man, but they got to do something. They got to change up something.
Yeah, it's really depressing to see sometimes, because like when you are trying to be involved in a game, and like that's the number one question I get asked too, is like when people are asking me like, "Hey, I want to start playing the game. What's the payoff?" And I'm like, I'm just like, I don't really know what to
Go to
tell
your
you.
local Walmart. Go to your local Walmart, go buy a Nintendo Switch, go buy a box of booster packs, and congratulations, you won one of the biggest tournaments in Yu-Gi-Oh that's available. You just beat 1,000 people.
Yup. And that's a struggle for our game. But kind of twisting back into this slide, what was your biggest struggle getting to where you're at?
Oh man, I've had a lot of struggles. Um, I think the biggest one is not being taken seriously. Um, Even when I first started, I had reached out to a bunch of people that I knew in the industry that I was like, hey, I have this idea. I've made these mats, um, but I need some help. I need help, um, in whatever it is, right? I had no business background in general at the time. I eventually ended up getting a degree in business, but at the time, I was just a 20. Let me see, what am I? 31 now, so 8 years ago, so 22. All right, no, 24. I don't know, young, early 20s, right?
Sure.
Um, Broke. Uh, was living in a one-bedroom apartment with my my only daughter at the time. Now I have three kids, but at the time, my daughter that I had when I was 16 years old, and my then girlfriend, who was also my daughter's mother, and I didn't have anything, and um, it was difficult listening to people tell me that it wasn't a good idea. Um, Even my daughter's mother at the time was like, "This is dumb. Why are you doing this? Go work your 9 to 5 like you're supposed to, and it is what it is." Friends in the industry that are still my friends now, and I've never held grudges, and I've never told anybody like, screw you, you didn't believe in me at the time. Like, and not that any the gem is anything, to like boast about, but um, yeah, I think the biggest struggle was tuning everybody out and just kind of pushing forward. And um, even it gets to a point where you almost question yourself, right? Like, am I even doing this correctly? If is there a better way to do this? Is this even gonna last? Um, so you even get into your own head where you're like, I are they right? Is this a dumb idea? Am I wasting my time and my money and my energy doing this? Because this is a really obscure and unique business. This isn't like your average consumer product, right? This is niche within niche. I'm making things for an industry that is generally small, right? And this
Right.
isn't like cell phones or anything like that. Not like everybody has one of these. Um, and in addition to that, I'm making the premium products of the industry. So I'm not even making cheap stuff.
True.
And so I've had to really like tune everything out and everybody, including myself. That was probably been my biggest struggle getting to where Gem is today. And we still have a lot of growth to do. Um, this last year has been tough. Uh, Not that, we're dying or anything, but in comparison to the years before, Gem is it's going through its growth. It's going through its ups and downs and growth, right? During COVID, there we were booming. Everybody had money to spend. It was a really fun time for everybody. We were making stuff, people were buying stuff, and now, which is really nice to see. But there's been an influx of new creators, new people that are coming into the industry, and we and I say we, but it's really only me, right? Like there's nobody else behind the scenes besides one other person who's my aunt, and I love her to death. She handles all of my back end stuff, all the customer service stuff. So if you guys are watching, if you ever talked to our customer service, or you've had any interaction with us that hasn't been me, my aunt Cecilia, you're the best. You're my number one. Um, but yeah, there's no team here. It's Brandon. Brandon's the designer. Brandon's the marketing guy. Brandon's the guy that's posting the videos. Brandon's the guy responding to you guys online, generally speaking. I am hiring somebody to handle our online stuff. Yeah, it's been a wild ride, man. Um, the struggle continues. You the doubt and it never stops. And even when you get to what people would consider success, right? Um, it's never the end. It's never the final act of your scene, right? You have to continuously improve, innovate, create new things. And I think that's where Gem really stands out because we work with some amazing artists across the world. We have artists that are local to us. We have artists in Mexico. I have artists in the UK. Um, and that's where we really stand out amongst everybody else in the industry is we use the industry. We're using people within the industry that have their own passion for things. Um, we're using manufacturers that are willing to work with us in creating things that are out of the ordinary. I mean, we're making stuff with fur on it and exotic leathers and multi-layer leathering and laser techniques. Like we're doing things that the big guys look at that stuff and they're like, that's just money wasted. And we don't see it that way. I see it as that is worth it's worth the extra hustle because when you get something like a gem product, it's an experience. You it's a smell, it's the packaging, it's the unboxing, it's putting your first deck in there, and then all the way up until you even get to the tables. You sit down at a table and some random person next to you goes, What is that?" Right? Like, what's that box? That thing is dope. What's that mat? That was the idea of how Gem came about, by the way. The name Gem was for that experience. So when you get on a table and someone looks at your deck box, whatever that you pulled out, and they go, "What is that thing?" You get to look at them and you go, "It's a gem," right?
Oh, that's
It's
really
it's
cool.
it's it's something that you either have to work to find or it's going to cost you a little bit to get it. But man, when you got it, you got yourself a gem, right? Um, and people have tried to do what create that experience. Um, and the mark that they miss is they're not doing it their way. They're trying to do it our way. They're trying to do it the way that um, me and another creator that I respect highly. Her name's Amanda Lapalm. Um, People are trying to be what they're trying to use what worked for us for themselves. But what they're not realizing is that it worked for us because that is us. It didn't. It's not working for you because you're not us. You're not making what we make. You're not the creator that we are. You're not in our head with our vision. You have to have your own. And I think that's a lot of struggles for even people that are coming up right now. Um, and that probably will be their struggle if they don't become their own thing. Um, just like I had to become my own thing. That's going to be their struggle too. It's people that are going to be looking at them and they're going to say, That's a dumb idea because Jem's already doing that, or Amanda Plapalm's already doing that. That's a dumb idea. Why are you doing that? And I hope that eventually they find their own thing. I hope that they can have this conversation with somebody later and go, that was our biggest struggle, was people telling us that this was dumb.
And
And I hope that's for everybody.
this deck box here has been a gem for years and years, still all together, not damaged at all, still going hard, and it speaks to the quality. And that's one thing too, where how you're saying about your struggle, I very much so can relate. I'm still relatively small in the creator space. I do have 21,000 subscribers, and if you imagine 21,000 people in a room, that's a lot of people.
A lot of
Um,
people, man.
I still have my own doubts when I try to not compare to other videos that are doing better, other channels that are doing better. And you kind of do that to yourself, that you're like, well, how do I get there? But a lot of people don't know that. Do you know that picture of the guy mining and he quits before there's diamonds?
Right, yeah.
For me, I was at 994 subscribers. I almost quit YouTube. I could not figure out how to break 1,000. And I kept doing what other people were doing. And I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't work. I was like, it works for them. It does not work for me. Some videos would get 3,000 views, some videos would get 100 views. And I don't know why it's not working. And I was going to hit delete. My friend goes, don't hit delete, figure out something you want to do and just post it. Because it's even true now. Like once you get a niche going, like you can't really post things too much outside of the niche, or else it won't get views until you build that niche. And I have done a couple word to hand trap videos. They weren't like super in depth, and they weren't exactly what I loved. Um, and he goes, think about something over the weekend. Come back to me on Monday. So I came back on Monday and I was like, listen, I'm going to put everything I got into this one video. If it does well, I'll keep the channel. If it doesn't do well, I'm hitting delete. And he's like, that's a bet. And we handshook on it, and I was like, all right. I spent 2 weeks working on this video. And I posted my first in depth, very long where to hand trap. I went to go eat a sandwich and put my phone down next to me. When I tell you my phone would not stop vibrating, and I was like, there's no way that like this is real right now, right? Like I saw a comment pop up, I was like, all right. Another comment pop up, I was like, all right. And so I flipped my phone over. Within the first hour, I was up 3,000 subscribers and 20,000 views. That video is sitting at like 56,000 views right now.
Nice.
And it just sparked everything. And it's because that was something that I wanted to do. That was my type of video to make, my type of educational thing to do. And I really liked how that went. And so I started doing like side decking videos, deck building videos, like all these different things to like really just kind of teach people the things that I've learned, my ups, my downs, the things that made things a little easier for me to think about because the game is very complex. And so far, so good. A lot of people really do enjoy the content, and I appreciate y'all. Thank you.
That's see, we love you guys. We love everything that you guys do, and even it's basic things, right? Like even just a like, it means a lot to us that um, creators in general, people that aren't just pumping out product and are pumping out. I would consider your videos product as well, right?
Sure, yeah.
You could be, the the robot that is the formula, or you can be your own thing. And I think that that's a really big, it's a really big changer in how the perspective of creating things is presented to consumers, right? um, because consumers can tell, and some of them don't care. Some of them don't have a problem. I can only talk about my own world, but some of them don't have a problem just having a piece of plastic that they stick all their cards in, and they're just like, these things are. on sale for $10 for all of them for every color. So I've just bought them all, and they work for me, right?
Sure.
Or there's others like myself where I want to have something that's nice. I don't care if it's a single deck box that costs me $50 or $60, but when I go and I sit down at a table and I grab it and I touch it and I can smell it, and you can tell that this thing is it's different, right? And not only is it different in a sense that it's not the same as everybody else's product, but it's different in the sense that this was something that resonated with you. You looked at that and you said, "I want that." You didn't look at it and say, "I guess it'll do," right? Um, and that's going to be that is how you became who you are right now, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you didn't make something that people necessarily wanted. You made something that people resonated with, that people were like, I actually want to watch this. I actually want to connect and learn about this. I actually want to consume this. Not, man, it was on my feed. I just watched it real quick. And it's a
And
testament to your ability to just push through that, right? Push through those dark times that a lot of people unfortunately can't get out of. And you almost didn't.
I
Almost
almost
didn't get
didn't.
out of it, my man.
I almost didn't. It'd have been a shame too.
Yeah.
The last thing before you switch topics too on this, I do want to say that especially gem products, higher end products, the one thing I can say that they do consistently is provide confidence. If you sit down with like a paper mat or like rubber mat and like a plastic deck box, it's a much different experience than when you sit down with a spell ground or a cloth mat and like a gem tech deck box. It's an entire bravado when you sit down, and like if you are playing against that and you have that rubber mat, you're like, whoa, like they know what they're doing, and there's a chance they don't. And my
Like me.
friend, my friend Craig, he's the closest person possible. He's a teammate on my team RW, and he was just getting back into the game at the time, and I was like, listen, I gotta drip you out, bro. Like I gotta get some stuff together, and I got your black spellground deck box, the Onyx, and I
Mhm.
got him a cloth mat, and I got him like all of his setup, and I was like, go play an event and see how you feel. He sat down, he's like, this is great, and I'm like, yep, like it's just an entirely different feeling when you sit down with higher end product.
You know what? It is a confidence booster. I'll say that for sure. Um, I only know because I'm in. There's other things that I do that I compete. So I fight. I do jujitsu. I compete jujitsu. I wrestled for a long time, and it's it's a different mental switch in the competition realm when you show up and you see your opponent, and your opponent looks like they know what the hell they're doing. It's a mental game as well. This uh, act of competition. If you show up and and I can only talk again about things that I've experienced, but you show up to a mat and you're ready to fight somebody, physically altercation, legal altercation, where they can actively try and hurt you for a medal. And you look across the mat and they're wearing, maybe a $300, $400 limited edition gi, and they're wearing a nice belt. Um, you know that you're in for it. You know you're in for a fight. You know you're in for something that you're like, this guy's serious. This guy sat down and he took the time to make sure that he at least looked the part.
Also the
And
mustache though, right?
hey man, the mustache is a big thing in fighting. If you got a mustache, you're there, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of why I kept it. But in all seriousness, yeah, when you show up to something that's an active competition and you look the part, that's half of the battle right there. If you don't look the part, and I mean, the people have done this before, right? And I'm sure that your listeners or viewers are gonna test that. They know somebody that has showed up to an event on purpose with a paper playmat that they got from a starter deck, and they have their deck wrapped up in a rubber band to
Yep.
like kind of psych the other person out. But but it's the truth on the opposite end.
Yep.
You show up and you look good, and you smell good, you feel good. It's a different mental switch for sure.
So, talking about looking the part, what's your favorite product that you put out so far?
Oh man, I try not to have emotional connections to products. Um, I have to if if I have an emotional connection to them in terms of like something that I really, really, really like, I tend to like lose focus on other things. But if I had to like really pick a product, hmm, I think my first Senpai box that I ever did is probably my favorite product.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people, man, those Senpai boxes, they cause a stir. That's for sure.
Yeah, they do.
And what's funny is that it was literally one of the first boxes I ever made. And people still are like, why'd you make this? When did you guys start making these things? And I'm like, we've been making them since day one, since I first ever came out with a deck box. Um, and I'll tell you where the inspiration for that came from. So I'm a '90s kid. I grew up in the '90s,
Okay.
um, and skateboarding was a really big thing. Tony Hawk had just come out. If you were on a skateboard, you had some Heelys. You were at the skate park. You were doing something cool, like you were in, right?
Sure.
And there was a brand, and I still think that they still exist still, and the brand is called Hookups, Hookup skateboards. And what they were skateboards with lewd anime drawings on them. And I was just always so drawn to them. And it wasn't because like pervy. It was more of like wow, that's different. Like I've never seen anything like that before. I've never seen people draw artwork as beautiful women. Like it was so like out of the box to me. And it really showed because it showed like the styling of it, right? Where my parents at the time who bought me, my first skateboard, obviously, they were like, "Oh God, what is that thing?" And you can tell that it kind of made people go like, "Oh, that's it's almost like it's cool, but should I even look at that? Like that's so weird, but so interesting at the same time because they have never seen anything like that either." And that was the inspiration for what the Senpai deck boxes were. It was those hookup skateboards that kind of were in the shop that were like, oh, like I kind of want to look at it, but I don't know whether, anybody's gonna judge me. Is it okay? And what was really cool is that I got a lot of people that are they don't care, that they're like, man, this is it. This is what it's about right here. And
Yeah.
by the way, don't use these deck boxes in sanctioned tournaments at any of your games. I've
Please
said
never
this
use
for
them in
many
tournaments.
years. I've said this for many years. People don't listen. They end up at an event, they get a DQ or whatever. In the beginning, I was getting heat. People were like, "Oh, I got disqualified because of this, blah blah blah," and I'm like, I don't make up the rules. I just make the boxes. It's up to you whether you take them there or not, right? Um, but now I don't get any flack for it anymore. People, on the contrary, are like, "Yeah, I got DQ'd because I brought my senpai deck box." And it's just like, man, you guys are just on a different level. But I appreciate you guys so much. I think you guys are probably you guys are the real fans for sure. I really enjoy, conversating with you guys at events. You come up to me and they kind of sneakily are like, "Look what I got." And I'm like, "Ah, dude, you sneaky guy, you're gonna get in trouble. Better put that away." Uh, and it's a cool it's a cool line. My main artist that does that, his name's Mr. Bowwater. Go look him up. Not at work. It's not safe for work stuff. But really, really well known artist in the lewd anime world. So yeah, go check him out, Mr. Bowwater. He does all of our senpai stuff. He even does a few of our like non-senpai things. I have a couple pieces of his that are coming out pretty soon. Um, but yeah, it's that's probably my favorite product is my senpai box, the first one I ever made, because it's created an absolute nightmare for for tournament organizers. I've had people reach out to me. I've had tournament organizers reach out to me and be like, "Hey, I just want to let you know this stuff's not a you can't use this stuff at our tournaments, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Don't tell me that. Don't tell the
Right.
other people that. I'm gonna still make these things. Like I couldn't care less."
See, definitely not like a me product, but like I've seen people have them. I'm very much so like I think it's kind of silly that the EU is like you have to have Konami product now, but like thankfully America is like, hey, it's cool, like play whatever you want to play. But like it is like in that same space of like we are still like a technical children's card game. So like I understand where they're coming from, but like it's a whole conundrum around it because like even Amanda Palm, I've seen her post out before and being like, "Do not use these at tournaments. Like we told you a
Yeah,
hundred times." And like now, I feel like if you get DQ'd for having something like that at a tournament, you're an idiot. Like I'm sorry, but like
it's your fault.
it's literally your
You,
fault.
and you know what though? We also have to remember, um, and the viewers and consumers and fans need to remember as well. We don't make anything for a specific game. We make things because we want to make things. Whether you use them for your specific game or not, that's up to you. I don't make stuff to be compliant with somebody else's rules. I'm the one that makes my rules. I'm the one that decides what gets released and what doesn't get released, right? Um, and if I made stuff for those games, I would just be Ultra Pro. I would just be Ultimate Guard. You know, if you want that stuff, if you want something that, and not that I don't make things that aren't compliant, right? There's the Senpai line is very small in comparison to everything else that I make, which it's an argument that I have all the time. But I, I, I don't, I don't. It's not for them, and it's not for everybody. The stuff I make isn't for everybody, and that's okay. The stuff that Amanda makes is not for everybody, and that's okay. Um, if you want things that are for everybody, go be like everybody. Go buy the stuff that everybody else is buying. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you want something different, you want something that's stylish, you want something that's a little bit of flair, you want something that maybe turns some heads, you're at the right place. We're going to make something cool for you. It may not be this specific one, but we'll have something for you eventually. If not eventually, you can find something that we've made before. Um, Unfortunately, our stuff gets sold on eBay for, more than what they paid for it, right? And that was a topic of many years, because we sold out a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't stay on our shelves for more than a week. There was times that stuff when we first started wouldn't stay on our website for more than 30 seconds. And we're talking hundreds of pieces or whatever it is that we made.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, I don't control a secondary market. I only control whatever it is that I can make. Um, and we've moved past that, and we've come to the conclusion that the best way to do it would be pre-orders, right? And it comes with its own like downsides to it. Um, the biggest thing is um, like turnaround times. So we do pre-orders. We allow everybody to order their product, right? But what they don't realize is that when we make those products, it is they're made to order, and they're very complicated to create. They're not like, just a basic piece. Like, if, for example, Um, I have this one right here. It just happens to be right next to me, and I'll pull it out for you. You get a basic deck box from somebody. I think I have probably a basic deck box here. Yeah, there you go. So I don't know why and how I have this, but this is an Ultimate Guard Sidewinder, right? This is probably about the size of your palm. Basic magnets, simple flap, very basic print on the inside. Single color, dual layered. So I mean that's nice, right? Dual layers. You have an outside layer and inside layer.
Sure.
Basic felt. Nothing too crazy, right?
Right.
It doesn't even reach the bottom. And then you compare that to something like this, right?
Yeah, already an eye grabber.
Significant size difference, right? We're talking this is full grained dyed leather, specific color. This is all metal. These are real Swarovski crystals that are embedded into a second layer of metal. UV screen print. So it's screen printed and then UV printed on top of that. Okay.
Okay.
Full design. All right. On the inside, full dye sublimation PU leather. 3 compartments that are dual layered. Divider that's custom printed. In addition to that, another compartment. This is essentially a sidewinder in itself.
Yeah.
This will hold, I think, 50 cards, but it's really made for, putting your dice and stuff. And it's magnetized. The closure is magnetized, reaches all the way to the bottom. We print our authenticity stamp at the bottom of it. This takes significantly longer than this takes to make.
Sure.
And they're handcrafted, right? That's the reason why things take so long when it comes to pre-orders. Because not only do they have to make this, they got to make 1,000 of these, right?
Right.
A lot of people miss that. And sometimes things take a little bit longer than what we anticipate them to be. Because we're talking about anticipated turnaround times. We calculate that it takes maybe 4 hours in total from start to finish to make that single deck box. We got to make 1,000 of those. We have to calculate that. We have to calculate days off. We have to calculate shipping times. We have to calculate, even potential errors that come along with it. We'll say that the tanner at the leather mills, don't get the color just right. Whatever the situation is. And then we have to project that. We have to go, okay, well, this is going to take us 3 months to make, and then another month for them to show up to us. Within that time frame, that's a lot of time for things to go wrong,
Right.
and a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong because it's a lot of stuff that goes into that. And we understand the frustrations. We understand that, you guys told us 3 weeks ago this thing was supposed to be released, and it's like, yeah, and we get it. We know. Just bear with us. The leathers. Unfortunately, we had a problem. Getting the right quality of leather. Um, whatever the situation is, right? Um, and we have to battle that balance of either we sell out everything and then everybody's pissed off, or we allow you guys to order as you please, but it takes too long for it to ship, so then everybody's pissed off.
You can't win.
It's not that we can't win. It's that we need to just we need to take the right steps in informing everybody the reason why,
Yeah.
right? Um, and like I said, it's not anything that's avoidable per se, because unfortunately nothing's unavoidable unless you're doing everything by yourself. And even then, things are still going to possibly come up. But we want to create a good experience from the start to finish. And I think the best way to give that experience to everybody is allowing you guys to not have to fight over something. It may take a little bit longer, but we're gonna create something for you that is that comes from somewhere, that has a meaning and a style and a design and a function to it and a look that you're not gonna get from this. I could see you guys being really pissed off if it took us 6 months to make something like this,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
100%. But when you compare them both, they're completely different. Apples to oranges. We don't make these things. These things you can I can buy them in bulk and slap my name on it and call it a day. But then I would just be these guys. I wouldn't be Gem. Wouldn't be You wouldn't be able to show up to the table and go like, oh, this is nice. The smell. I'm telling you, I keep saying the smell. It smells like a new car. Every time you get a new deck box from us, everybody tells us, man, it smells like a new car because it's practically what it is. We're using leathers. We're using automotive techniques and materials for these things. A lot of people don't realize that the glues, the stitching, the leathers. It's a lot of the stuff is automotive quality stuff. Um, that's why it smells like that. So next time you get a new Jackbox, give it a nice whiff. Open it up and smell it. It smells like a brand new car. I promise you guys.
Yeah, no, it's great. I can't even lie. It is pretty great. I do have quite a bit of gem product myself, which is great. And I always want to make sure that when I show up with my A game, that I'm rocking my A game as well. And I do want to quickly ask you, what is your favorite TCG if you have one?
My favorite TCG. Okay, so I'm a little bit biased
Sure,
because I grew up with this TCG. Well, I mean, I guess I grew up with the two of the three big three, right? Which was Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh.
sure,
I didn't really play Magic. I was a little too young for that, and it didn't really like resonate with me. I didn't understand it very much. Not saying that Pokemon I didn't understand either, because I didn't really learn how to play Pokemon until the last like 4 years. That I was like, okay, I really need to learn this game. Although I play Pokemon more, Yu-Gi-Oh is still my favorite game, and I haven't played it in quite some time, and I really want to start playing it again. Um, I just haven't had the time or the drive to like really sit down and learn. Because when I get into something, I get competitive. Like I
sure.
have to compete. I have to go places. I have to do it. I have to not necessarily prove myself, but I need to test myself amongst others in that same realm, whether I'm good at it or not. But I need to test myself. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh is a good benchmark of that because there's a lot. We talked about it earlier. It's a very complicated game, and when you can really learn everything about it, I feel like if you know Yu-Gi-Oh and you can be really good at Yu-Gi-Oh, you can be pretty good at almost every other TCG that's out there.
True.
Um, it incorporates a lot of things that other TCGs do as a basic that Yu-Gi-Oh does as a complicant. Is that a word? A complicant?
It's
I don't know.
complicated.
Yeah. You're the English major. You tell me. And
It's
and added complication to their system. Um,
yeah, it is
Even Magic. I played
complicated.
Magic for a while. If you've ever played Magic, they say just read the card and it is what it is, right? And you know you kind of do that with Yu-Gi-Oh too, where people will tell you like just read the card, and it's like yeah, but what the hell is a semicolon? Like how does that work, right? Uh, um, but yeah, I think my favorite game still is Yu-Gi-Oh for sure. Pokemon comes in really close. I enjoy playing Pokemon. Um, I enjoy competing playing Yu-Gi-Oh, if that makes sense.
I mean, you can definitely go compete this weekend. That's all I'm saying. It's
Ah,
in your hometown. Like it's right around the
yeah,
corner.
I'll be there. I don't know when this is coming out, but YCS Anaheim is this weekend. If you guys are here, we're doing a big warehouse sale the night before. So Friday night, come through. I'll post it I've posted it already in our Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. So our X page. Um, But yeah, come on by if you guys are here. Get yourself a deal. Get yourself a deck box. Get to feel it if you've never felt one before. Get some sleeves. We're gonna be open from 6 o'clock to around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, depending on how many people are there. Some big names will be there. I don't want to spoil who's gonna be there, but you may be able to see some big YouTubers that are coming by for the weekend, and they just happen to be my friends. So yeah, it'll be a good time.
Yeah, this will definitely be up by tomorrow morning, so that will be
Cool.
up for everyone. Definitely something where I wanted to be there, but it is what it is. Life comes
It
up,
is what it is.
appendixes get lost. That's always super fun, and
Can't
I
believe
feel
that
like,
happened to you.
yeah, I hate it when my appendix screams at me. It's the worst. Um,
Those
so
damn appendixes.
it was so bad, but I mean, we're here, we lived. If Shifter hasn't taken me out yet, my appendix is gonna do it. It's good. I
It's
feel like
wild.
we've already kind of covered like TCGs and like what got you into it, but out of like the big three, like Dark Magician, Blue Eyes, and Red Eyes, were any of these like your all-time favorite? Like if you had to pick one.
Definitely Blue Eyes. And I think every kid at the time, that was the choice. It was either Blue Eyes, Red Eyes, or you were a Charizard or Blastoise person. It wasn't. Unfortunately, Venusaur didn't get much love, but uh, I. I'm definitely a fan of the Blue Eyes for sure. That's been it also design inspiration for a lot of products that we've made upcoming. Um, I actually haven't made any very many Dark Magician products at all, so maybe that'll be something on the horizon that I can make. Um, but yeah, if you go to our previous products, there's definitely more Blue Eyes stuff than there is Dark Magician. Um, but honestly, though, if I had to really really pick, Exodia was always my top tier thing.
Have you ever heard
We
of
we
Kikalos? No.
no.
This new age, not Exodia, not OG, just the best card ever created in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! But Kikalos was almost Exodia. If you enjoyed the lovely format of December 2022 when everyone was ready to torch down the tier deck, but it's okay. I was always a Red Eyes fan. I met Wayne Grayson. He signed my Red Eyes. He did a voice line for me, and it was like the coolest experience. I love Red
That's
Eyes
awesome.
so much, and just the fact because like they told me that like he wasn't gonna do any voice lines, and when I got to the table, and he's just like, "Oh no, my trap card." I was just like, it was so good. It was my favorite, and
You, what are you doing?
oh, it was so
You have a
good.
friendship.
I was like, what a genuine dude, right? Like, it was so cool. Um,
Before we before we end this, have you seen the series again, the original one?
like season 0, or just
Yeah.
like the regular season.
I guess Battle City probably is probably the most popular to start at.
Yeah, I've seen it all.
It was tough. It was tough to watch that over again. I'm not gonna lie. As an adult, it was a really tough thing to see. I don't know why. It's
Well, Duel's
taken me so
Kingdom,
long.
right? Like
Oh, Dills yeah.
they were breaking rules left and right, and then you get to Battle City, and Joey versus Espinroba, and he goes to like normal summon a card with like a level over 4, and they're like, we changed the rules, you need a tribute summon now. And I was like, oh, so they just actively admit that like they were all just cheating in Duelist Kingdom. Like they were just like, yeah, I'm just gonna normal summon Dark Magician. Like that's insane.
And we played like that. We
Yep.
played in the streets like that. No sleeves on the concrete in the hood. I grew up in East LA, so me and my buddies would just play out in the street on the floor. No sleeves, just destroying first edition cards. Ah, those were good days.
Yep. And we're like, oh no, what did we do?
Rubber band and everything. It was good times.
I
Really
seen a
good
kid
times.
like 10 years ago have an Effect Veiler Ultimate Rare and a rubber band with commons.
Oh,
Oh, it was terrible to
that hurt.
watch. I was like, here's a
That
sleeve,
hurt.
friend. Here's a binder. Put it in there, please. Like, oh, it was so bad. But
Oh no.
Any final thoughts today, Brandon? Thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute honor.
100%, man. Final thoughts. I guess the only thing is going to be I can't thank everybody in this community enough. Even those that dislike the brand, those that love it, those have supported, those had that have, you know, not necessarily been too kind to us or to me in general. Um, it's been it's such a blessing to be able to do what I do right now and have such a really cool fan base. I don't show my face very often, so I still get to go to events and kind of be myself, and not too many people come up to me, but it's really, really cool when somebody does recognize me and they tell me how long they've been a fan of the product, and um, it's really cool to walk around an event and to see things that I've created over the years still being used with pride. Um, Not a lot of people get that opportunity to make something that makes a difference in things that they love and things that they're passionate about. And you yourself also is a testament to that, where you know you're seeing success in just doing something that you like. And that's that old cliche saying that never work a day in your life if you do something that you love. And I promise you guys, and I'm talking, to everybody that's watching this and listening to this, I haven't worked a day in my life for the last 8 years. It's been absolutely amazing. The stresses, everything is all worth it. It's worth it because uh, I get to actually see it firsthand with you all. I get to show up to an event again, and I get to see you guys using the things that I've designed and I've made, that it's being appreciated, that I worked really, really hard to to make sure that you yourself, the outcome is what it is. That I see you guys out there using these things, not throwing them in the trash or not even buying them at all, right? It's it's been a lot of fun. It still is a lot of fun. Gem's not going anywhere unless I die. Yeah, that's essentially where it's at. I'm gonna continue making some dope products for you guys. I'm gonna continue to be what I've been called the trendsetter, right? And I'm gonna do everything that I can in my power to make sure that we continuously create things that you guys are proud to use. And that's gonna be the main goal for the rest of Gem's life.
And you know what's cool about that too is when I go to an event, I can't even tell you how many gem backpacks I see.
It's a testament to passions, brother.
Yeah,
It's just
people are
passions.
like, "Oh, you have a backpack? It's not a gem one. Oh, like you should go get a gem one." Like, you know,
I
it's
definitely don't want that. I don't want you guys to be doing that to
yeah.
people. But
I've seen it. I'm just like, I'm just glad that it's the product that Brandon wants, and the product is out there. People enjoy it, and they're still enjoying it. They're still buying them. They all want one,
yeah.
so it's good.
And speaking of new, I got new stuff that's going to be coming out pretty soon. We're going to be prototyping it this weekend. Take some pictures and stuff. I want to get people's opinions. So if you're at the event and I show up, and I'll have these two with me, feel free to stop by and stop me. You want to take a look at them. They're not done. They're still getting worked on in terms of like sizing and stuff. So, but I'll have them with me so you guys can get a firsthand look at what they're going to potentially end up being. And yeah, still coming out with new stuff, man. It's not stopping. It's not stopping.
Absolutely. The content train's never stopping either. And so this one's going to be up in the morning and we're going to keep on rocking. I'm going to make sure that everyone's aware, the one the only is going to be at the event this weekend, and some cool sales going on at the warehouse. Make sure you go ahead and stop by and check those out as well. And I really do appreciate having you here today, and it was a lovely conversation.
I appreciate it myself, Gary. You're the number one, man. I love you so much, buddy, and I'm glad that we're friends.
Yeah, I love you too. And that's one thing where this game is something that's really hard to kick from your life because you make these kind of connections from playing these kind of games. And it's something that, I've been through some things in my life. I quit the game for a little while and I was just in a pit of just, I don't really know what to do next. And I was like, well, one thing I always really did enjoy was just playing Yu-Gi-Oh and like seeing who I could meet and, just like being a person in the space. And ever since I've been back, it's been an absolute gem. And it's fantastic, and I'm very glad to be where I'm at. But we are going to be cutting the video off here, so I appreciate you. Thank you all for listening to this podcast episode. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope to see you all in the next video.
See you guys.
Have a good one.